Hey guys, what is up? Kid here, Burn with the Shadowverse Evolve channel, as always, bringing you another video. This time, we're looking at the top decks for one of the most recent regionals. This is, I think, one of the only regionals that will be playing BPO5, because after this, I believe is the showdown in September, will be the next major event, which I will be there with my camera and everything. Going to be vlogging it up, going to try to meet up with other content creators while we're out there, and, you know, get as much footage as I possibly can once I'm there in California. But let's get into this. So these are the winning decks here. First one coming up for the first place team, which was PG Shadow here. I do not want to pronounce the names because I will mess them up for sure. So congratulations to the player up there. Obviously, first up here is Egg Haven. We know for a fact this is a very powerful deck. This looks like a really standard list for the most part. I know not every list plays Cudgel, but Cudgel is still a really powerful card, especially like into the mirror a bit as well. It can just like eat certain things, get rid of barriers and stuff like that that are on the board easily. And it helps in some of the aggro matchups too. It gives you a way to like not have to dump your hand to answer a board sometimes, which is pretty nice. Playing it as a 2-of here, as we see, we have one of the Evo, so you know it doesn't come up too often, but when it does, it probably feels really good. I also have that the deck is super standard. This is basically your standard list when you go into every event. We have 3 Angelic Snipes, like I said. I think this is a meta where Angelic Snipe is just really powerful. It hits a lot of things that just have 2 health that you want to get rid of, and just like outs a lot of stuff for 1 play point, which feels really, really good. Angelic Snipe in combination with Cudgel 2 is a really powerful card as well. Yep, standard list, so congratulations here. Obviously like it. There's no reason not to have Egg Haven on your team. The second player on the first place team here, don't want to pronounce that name because I will totally mess it up, but there you go. We have here a Control Abyss basically list here. We're playing kind of all the good control tools for the most part here. We got triple Angelic Snipe. They opted not to go for like the Angel package here, which I think is totally fine. We got all of the hand disruption, only playing 2 Crazy Executioners. Personally, I like having 3 because I like seeing it earlier. I think Crazy Executioner, being able to pick the exact card and say like, okay, this is a card I can't answer, this is the card that will answer my board, so I need to remove it, I think is really, really powerful. We have triple Lyriel here because it's just such a good card. Surprising, I'm seeing no PTP, which is a card that generally is really, really powerful in this deck because a lot of times it lets you gas back up when you really need to, because a lot of your cards still early game is just 1-for-1ing. Also against aggro decks, once you put a PTP down, you can set it up to clear the board even, which is really, really good, because honestly, Abyss has trouble with really aggressive decks that go wide very quickly. So like I feel like into like sword decks, you have a lot of trouble because even if you're able to get their hand size down a lot, usually they are able to like hit you enough to put you in a position where they can kind of just like storm off of the top card of their deck and win the game sometimes, which is really awkward. But other than that, list looks really, really good. I liked having the Marzenskis here. I think Marzenski is still a really, really powerful card. Alucard in here. Personally, I haven't played with Alucard in this list. I played mostly with Dark Alice as a 2-of here. But Alucard being an extra way to heal is really big for the deck as well. And also, you know, kind of 2-for-1ing a little bit and getting that extra storm damage occasionally is really good. Pretty standard Evo deck here for the most part. Playing 2 Evo for Crazy Executioner because you just every single one you see you want to have the Evo for it, otherwise Crazy Executioner is just such a dead card in your deck. One of Marzenski, which is fine. You need to make room for like the Bellringer and Soul Dealer as well. Surprisingly, only 1 Soul Dealer Evo. I guess we're cutting because we're playing Alucard, or not Alucard, we're playing Azazel here. We decided to go down on Soul Dealer. Soul Dealer usually is like such a huge value card. I'm surprised to see this only as a 1 of Evo, but I guess it kind of makes sense because we still have the Apostle of Silence as well, which is a really powerful card. So congratulations to the Abyss player. And then we got the Swordlist here, which is a deck I talked a lot about in the what was it? The sorry, my brain is just shutting off here. The tier list video, I talked about having a mix of just playing the really good hero sword cards along with the thief stuff and being more aggressive in that package here. That's what they basically did, because one of the big things I said is just like you only need to play really is the goblin card Heroic Entry plus Mognite, and we see this package here, giving it extra reach, giving it extra removal, which is really big, and occasionally you get that high roll. All your 3-drops in the deck are really good, so no matter what you see, even if it's not Mognite off the top, any 3-drop you get is still going to be pretty strong value for you. We still have like multiple Storms, Mognites, same with Novice Troopers. Those are really, really big for you. So Heroic Entry you might think is bad, but actually it's not bad at all, because it just extends your to help you find another good 3-drop essentially. If you want something good and you want to kind of high roll, Mach is there. Otherwise you can just like kind of pop off. I like this kind of package where you still have like this aggressive tempo, because I think a lot of decks don't expect this right now, because I think a lot of people just aggro deck is kind of like almost hated out of the meta. But because the way Mach Knight works with Heroic Entry along with the whole Thief package, it's really, really powerful, surprisingly. So I think it's something people have been slept on. I like the one of Albert too. Personally, I probably wouldn't have played the one of Albert. I probably would have just played like a 3rd Novice Trooper, because I'm that greedy with my Storm on 3. But still totally fine. I like this list a lot. Pretty much easy breakdown for the Evo deck here. Like I said, I think if I wasn't playing Albert, I was playing like the 3rd Novice Trooper, for example, or something else in that slot, or maybe even a Alexander. I just play the 3rd Evo Mach Knight there. But I really like this deck a lot. I'm sure it caught some people off guard if they haven't played into it. Deck is super good, and if you haven't tried this deck before, 100% you should try it. It's a really great deck. But congratulations to the first place team there. Looks like we do have the second place team here. We have Disdained Dragon. Looks super standard list here. We do play a couple Dragon Tamers, which I haven't seen too many lists play Dragon Tamer. Only one of the Knuckle Dragon, which is surprising. I think this card is super good. I would cut the Dragon, the 2-drop here for just triple Knuckle Dragon, because I love that card so much. But I could understand if they were having issues just playing things out early and adding a little bit more consistency by discarding and drawing on turn 2 if they open this card. It might be important. But overall, list looks pretty good. I've been seeing some more lists, especially because we see a lot of Laurels being played, and a lot of lists to like kind of add pressure to our opponent, along with, you know, kind of like a soft counter to Egg essentially. So I've been seeing a lot more lists just running PTP along with Lyriel. If they're playing Lyriel, they'll throw in like one of PTP, which has been really interesting. Something that Japan didn't really do that much. And they're on a 42 card deck. One of Erd, which is kind of a weird choice. Like obviously it's there to answer some things, especially in the Egg matchup as well, being like a 3rd good card for the Egg matchup. Instead of playing 3 Lyriel, they're playing the random extra one of Erd. That's kind of good into other matchups too. Lets you play one of Erd into the Evo slot here. Overall, yeah, Evo deck looks good. The random one of Knuckle Dragon and one of Evo just seems very out of place to me. I would love to play it as like a 3-2 split, or even a 3-3, because this card is so good. 4 damage onto something answers a lot of things now. That's the one thing that's kind of annoying, is that Dragon Warrior, though it's very good, there are now cards that are popping up that you just need to be able to deal 4 damage to remove them a lot of the times, or get that extra push essentially, and you know, Knuckle Dragon gets you there. Other than that, I mean, like, list looks great. Really solid list overall. Has all the key pieces. Obviously, it's Disdained is pretty straightforward. Then you have a few extra slots to work with here, and they obviously went with over 40 cards, and they put in the Angelic Snipes, the one of Erd, which is also kind of weird, but I mean, I understand why they would be playing it. And then everything else here looks pretty solid overall. Moving on here, second place team here, SG Shadowverse Alpha here, playing the Control Haven list here with Aegis. Oddly enough, also playing 42 cards. Looking at the list, it's pretty standard for the most part. Surprising not to see 2 Guardian Suns. I know some lists pop up to 2 Guardian Suns because they're afraid of losing one of them to like Thief Sword, or just, you know, sometimes you actually need to play it early. They went with the Gilgamesh package, which I like a lot too when playing this, because it adds the extra life basically, because this card on 7 is essentially, or 7 with the Evo point, or even 8 is like a heal 6 rush as well, because it does have drain. A lot of times you'll play Apostle of Craving and then hit it to bump it up to 6 attack. That way you can get 6 healing, which is really good into the egg matchup. That's why I like this card into egg. I think if you play Haven playing some amount of the Omen of Craving package is pretty important for the game plan overall. Surprised to only see one of the Apostle of Craving, but a lot of times you only really playing it to get that rush and evo out with your Omen of Craving. Otherwise, it's just kind of like on a turn 3 with evo point removal that leaves you a body as well. Overall, deck list looks pretty solid overall. Actually only playing 1 Marwyn, which is surprising. A lot of JP lists did play 2 Marwyn because the card was important enough to see occasionally, because into the mirror match is really important to see it, and sometimes you just need that extra draw, heal, and ward, 8/8 ward aura, giving you that extra accelerated play point to get out just a turn earlier, especially when going first, for example. Yeah, first or second, that is, with the evo point. Oddly enough, we're playing 2 White Wings here. A lot of lists I do see play only 1, only 2 Themises as well. I can understand cutting Themis to 2. It's a card that you need to see, but don't need to see it like immediately all the time, because I think if you're losing on turn 5 anyway with this type of control list, then you're doing something wrong, because there's so much good removal. We have even the Apostle of Repose here that's super powerful as well, refunding you play points, so you can not only banish something on Evo, you get to also present a threat that gives you play points back on your opponent's turn to let you answer certain things with some of your removal. Surprisingly, only 1 of the spears, which is kind of odd. This card to me is just like the better version of Snipe for the list, because it also helps into the Abyss matchup a little bit. But what's nice about this card as a 3 of usually is that it does let you find or act as extra copies as Marwyn, because sometimes you do just need to search it out. Oddly enough, they only did like the 1/1 line for this, which is interesting, and opted just to play the triple snipe. Snipe is, like I said earlier, is such a powerful card in this meta. It's such a snipe heavy meta that like it kind of screws aggro over a bit into this. Outside of those comments here, super good list. My Haven list plays the 3/1 split for Acolyte's Light and Execution. I just think it's important to have like the random extra hard removal, so into matchups like Elephant and stuff, like you're going to be a little bit more greedy with how you use your Acolyte's Light, because sometimes they don't expect execution, and I think the 1 of execution helps a lot into some matchups that like are forced to go long that have amulets. It's sometimes good to have this card, because it's a card people don't always expect. They know you can run it, but it's not heavily played right now because there actually isn't a lot of amulets running around that you have to care about too much. List does opt not to play the 6-drop amulet. I'm forgetting the name right now of it, which I think is totally fine. Like I said, I think if you're not playing into a heavy control meta, or expecting a lot of control mirrors, that card isn't as important, and you can just replace it with something else. Evo deck, super standard Evo deck here. Looks good overall. 1/1 line obviously on the wolf. Yep. Yeah, nothing to complain here. Congratulations. I love to see Control Haven run around. Next we have Abyss here. This is looking like more of the Death's Breath shenanigans, but we're not even playing any Israfils. We're just straight up on the Hector list still, being like slightly aggressive with good 2-drops. I like this deck. I think the deck is good. You have all the mill you need for the deck to just kind of mill out and get Black Swan online as well to kind of set up lethal. I'm interested on how many games you like this list won through attrition or just through the combo of Azazel into Black Swan for a game instantly. It'd be interesting to find out. But overall, this is just the same list as before, except we have like 1 new tool, which is Thundering Roar, which is a really good 2-drop removal spell, because later in the game, if you're having this mill going on and you draw into it, it is a 2-for-1, and you deal 3 damage to something and make your opponent discard a random card, which just feels really, really good. Surprisingly, only 1 of Bellringer Angel here got to play the Judge one, because, you know, gotta flex a little bit, which I think is fine instead of playing like triple Angelic Snipe here. Yeah, I mean, this is just a really heavy mill deck into like either OTK or outvalue through summoning Hector over again, and getting lesser mummies out. We kind of already know how this game plan works for this deck, so no surprises here. Evo deck looks pretty good. We got 2 carrots here for fine motion, which is all right. And occasionally, I guess you could randomly, if you need to, race Marwin or Marzensky, but we have the Evos for Marzensky anyway. Yep, so congratulations to the Abyss player here. All right, we're on to the third place team. Once again, Egghaven. Super standard list. This is like almost card for card of like the last list. The only difference here is I think last list was not playing Goblins. This one is playing Goblins. They opted for that for the extra 1-drops, it seems like. Unless they missed it in the last list. I mean, we could just go back. Let's just take a look really quick. Were they playing Goblins? No, they were not playing Goblins. So yeah. I mean, it's not surprising. Honestly, any version of the deck right now is really good. I'm kind of surprised that Vietnam here is not too much into, I'm forgetting the card, but the 2-drop that has aura. I know here in the West, a lot of people play that card in this list for like the extra damage and protection, which right now I think is actually kind of good because there is a lot of angelic snipes running around, meaning the card is a little bit harder to interact with a little bit. Though I'm not the biggest fan of the card. It's still like a decent card. We got standard here, Evo deck as well. Not much to really say here. It's a pretty standard egg list, and we already know how good egg is. We did rate it as the best deck in the format currently. We got another best here. This is the angel package stuff. They actually opted to only play 2 Wings of Lust. Wings of Lust is such a huge card for the deck because not only does it act as angelic snipes, it also acts as ways to discard away your Israfils when you draw them, just to kind of like set up the turn 6 Death's Breath Israfil Evo and hopefully win from that. It's interesting they went with the Gilgamesh stuff. I have not tried this version of the deck with Gilgamesh, especially as a 3-up along with the 1-drop spell that they run. I can understand this is like more removal that also just gets better once you get into late game, which is interesting. And one of the newer cards here is this ancient card. Let me pull it up here. Hopefully you guys can see it on screen here. Yeah, Rosa Mechu Maiden. This is a really interesting card. I saw this and was like, you know, if I wanted to play with this deck a lot more, I think I would actually play this card as well. Because a lot of the issue is like the first few turns of the game, especially if you play into aggro stuff, you need bodies on the board to block, as well as this should be angel traded, I believe, which means it does work with winged inversion, though we're only playing it as a 1-of, which means later in the game we can discard one of these to wing inversions just to remove something immediately. Winged inversion is such a cool card to work with. Outside of that, we got Call of Cthulhu, which is wild, but I think, you know, if we're going to be playing this, yeah, at least we have a really big card to follow up, which is Israfil on turn 8. So we can search out our Israfil and be ready for our turn 8 turn. Or even, I guess, like later in the game, we could do Call of Cthulhu to set up either for, or if we're going to search out Erd or Gilgamesh as well. I guess those are cards you are legally allowed to search out, though I don't know how often that does happen. But it'll be interesting to see how often Call of Cthulhu came up for this player. Outside of that, though, deck looks super solid. I like this list a lot. Not 100% sold on the Gilgamesh 1-drop, forgetting the name of this card here, which is Glyceri or whatever. Man, what a weird name. Not 100% sold on that. I probably would have personally just played the 3rd winged inversion and like an angelic snipe or something like that, maybe. Or maybe just played it as a 1-of personally, because I just think the card is not, you know, you kind of only really want to play it once you have Gil on the board, but you know, it's still like a fine 1-drop, I guess, as a non-quick angelic snipe. Evo deck, solid all around. We got the double Israfil, got the U Israfil, which is nice. This list is playing what is it? Is it just a 1/1 line? It is of Cerberus here. I personally did not like Cerberus as much, but I mean, if they are getting lots of value out of it and actually milling out their deck, because they do play triple Black Swan, which I just now noticed that, which personally I think that's super greedy, and I don't know if I would play as this 3-of, but honestly, maybe turn 5, this is the only good way to answer like a wide board that has like a bunch of little fairies and stuff on it, because it does deal 2 damage to your enemy board on play, which is nice. So maybe that's part of it. And you know, Cerberus as a 1-of means like a lot of the times the only time you're really going to play this card is either you're forced to early on so you can get like double removal because you have a board that you have to remove, or it's later in the game where you can get like both the Necrocharge 10, which is important for the card to like set up lethal with like something on the board once you set something onto the board, essentially. Interesting list. I definitely want to maybe try this out one weekend at a locals when I get a chance. But yeah, congratulations to you. And then we have a sword. Let's just take a look here. Yeah, wow, this list is even playing triple Angelic Snipe. They just understand that this meta is Angelic Snipe meta. We need Angelic Snipe for the mirrors and everything. List outside of Angelic Snipes, I think this list is for the most part pretty standard-ish. We have the One of Execution, which I'm not 100% sold on all the time, but it's nice to have in here. Aurelia in here as well. I guess they're anticipating some wide boards. This Into Egg is such a good card as well, because if they play out a couple amulets, they don't always crack their amulets early. So like 2 amulets plus like 1 card on the board means that this comes down as like a 6/8 aura ward and a cell, which is really good. Lets you get rid of Tin Men that have not swung or just been pushed up, which is nice, while presenting like this wall that they have to get through that doesn't just get immediately answered by Egg itself. Haven't played a lot with the card itself into this meta, so interesting to see it pop up here. It probably does make sense that this does come up enough that this card is worth the value it does provide. Outside of that, deck looks super solid. Nothing to really complain about. I think this is just, for the most part, outside of the chosen tech cards, it's the standard thief stuff going on here. Evo list here. Yeah, triple Octress, double Fluorofencer. Yep, list looks good overall. I like the double Leonidas, which means that like if you play one out and it gets answered in some special way, the second Leonidas is going to Evo and usually get off, because a lot of times a lot of people don't have multiple answers for second Leo Evo. But yeah, that's it. That wraps it up. Congratulations to everyone at this event. All these lists look very, very solid. And yeah, hopefully if there is another BPO5 event, I'll be watching out for that, and we'll talk about the lists that do top there. But I believe this is the only BP5 event that we'll have that is like quote unquote a major event. Other than that, I guess I'll be seeing you guys at the Shadowverse Showdown Challenge, I believe, or something like that. But I'll see you guys in September in California. Later, guys. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and all that stuff. Thank you. Bye-bye.